course, I want to talk about the single that's coming out on Friday. But you also have such an interesting history. So can you first talk about that and how you kind of got started in music?
Oh, wow. Wow. That is, I don't know if we have enough time for all of it.
I got all day.
Oh, same, same. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on Hot Radio. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Shout
you.
out to you and all your hard work.
Oh, thank you, Marshall.
Yeah. Just to track back to my early days, things have kind of come full circle. I actually started as a DJ in 1993. And my older brother brought me to a rave, and I came home and I looked at my mom and I said, "Mom, I want turntables." And she looked at me and she goes, "Get a job." So what did I do? I basically, had my mom sign my working papers at such a young age and did whatever I could to save money, eventually bought turntables and then upgraded and upgraded. And at that point of my life, I was, getting gigs in the rave scene. And I grew up, that was outside of Boston. And, one thing led to another. And then, back then I was DJ Fraggle.
Okay.
And I played like very, very hard acid underground techno. And, evolution happened. I went to, the clay that molded me, what I wanted to say about full circle is now kind of coming back now, coming around. So basically, I went to college in Long Island. I went to Hofstra University. I was a communications major. And, everything that happened in my life to this point has brought me to where I am now. So from DJing at a young age, learning audio, learning how to record on tape, learning how to edit tape, right? Eventually turned into pressing CDs, and then going to communication school, learning television and video. And all of that stuff turned into what I'm doing now, which is producing music as an artist, right? So I went to college at Hofstra in Long Island, DJ'd. At that point, I realized, I can't be DJ Fraggle anymore, right? I'm not in the underground rave scene. My first gig in 1998 at a bar on Hempstead Turnpike in Long Island, I DJ'd the whole night with no words, all beats. And the owner comes up to me, Haley, and he says to me, he goes, "Listen, I can tell you are a great, fantastic DJ, but you ever play that crap in my bar again, you're not coming back."
Oh, no. And that was the last time that happened.
Right. So what did I have to do? I had to change, and I had to learn how to play hip hop, R&B, top 40, right? I had to start going to the record stores and buying new records and, listening to the radio and doing my research and digging in the crates and all that stuff. And I turned my name from DJ Fraggle, my name is Marshall, to DJ Marshall, Martial, right? So it's like, you can call me Marshall, it's spelled differently, but it's, the same thing.
It works, so, yeah.
Right? Everyone calls me Marsh, but I wasn't going to do DJ Marshy Marsh. That just doesn't, that doesn't work for me. So then after college, I worked at MTV. After MTV, I transferred, that's part of Viacom. Then I worked at CBS News in Manhattan, advertising and promotions. And I was doing everything that a music producer does. I was in an edit room. I learned how to edit Avid. They sent me to Avid school. And then I became from a PA, I became an AP, then I became a producer, then an Avid editor. And then in around 2006, I was still DJing, right? As my full-time job, I was still DJing 3 to 4 nights a week. So I was burning the candle at both ends, like a lot of people do, And in 2006, I was offered a tour overseas. And yeah, and I went to my boss, and I was, in my 20s at that time. I went to my boss and I said, "Hey, I don't know what to do here. I have to leave, but I don't want to lose my job." And he told me this fantastic story that has stuck with me forever. He said, when I was about your age, I was working as a PA on the news with Walter Cronkite. And I was also a really good bowler. And after the news, we would all go bowling. And everybody loved to bowl with me because I was such a good bowler. And a letter in the mail came asking me to go on the PBA, the Professional Bowling Association tour. But I had to give up my job. So I asked my boss, And the boss said, we'll all back you. We'll give you money. We'll back you. You guys, everyone here loves you. You can go out and pursue your dreams. And we can't guarantee you a job when you come back, though, because it goes to the next person in line. And he didn't do it. He didn't take, he stayed, great guy. He stayed, and the advice he gave me was, do it.
Yes.
He goes, you're so young. You have your whole life ahead of you. Just do it. And I quit my full-time job in television, and I went on tour for about 6 months. And I came back, and I never worked a full-time job in television ever again. And it was very tough when I came back because I'd been gone for so long. All my residencies as a DJ were gone, right? So I had to scrap around, start over, work hard, be in the nightlife scene, go out, support other DJs that were my friends, schmooze in the business until I could eventually get work back, which obviously I did,
That's because look at you now.
Yeah, exactly. Just living the dream again.
Yes, yes.
And then, in about 2010, 4 years later after I came back, I was working a lot as a DJ, and a lot of people would ask me and say, hey, Marsh, can you work tonight? And I'd say, no, I'm booked. And I'd say, okay, well, can you get us somebody? Okay, so I would get him somebody. And then that kind of steamrolled. And back then, my girlfriend, who's my wife now, said to me, Marsh, what are you doing? You got to start a company. You can't just book people.
Yeah, you're already doing this.
Exactly. And it goes on your taxes and you're paying, you start a company. So 2011, very beginning of the year, 10-ish, I started Set Artist Management and a booking agency at the very small steps. And, fast forward to now, the booking agency, Set Artist Management does, well, with COVID, we're doing really well, and I'm very humbled because of what we have. But pre-COVID, we were doing around 150 to 200 gigs a week in North America.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing, and it's great. Just a lot of people, a lot of great personalities. People that want to work, that understand, just the flow of logistics and how everything comes together. Great team. And then obviously COVID hit, and now we're still doing well. But throughout this whole process, what happened is I was always taking these little instances and the clay that molded me from my whole entire life, building up to producing and actually, realizing that other than being a booking agency, we have the ability, if we start a label, to funnel the talent through the label and really, hold two entities. And it starts with me and my passion as a DJ. What I like to play and what I like to do reflects in my producing. And, here we are today.
Here we are today. And as you mentioned in that story, you did kind of do a pivot. Like when the pandemic hit, it seems you went from DJing to booking a little more toward production and your label. What was the initial thing to inspire that pivot for you?
Oh, man. Well, the pivot is, I don't want to hate to say it, and I don't want to not hate to say it, but if I can give any type of advice to anybody out there with the pivot, it was an eye opener. It's a game changer. Like you need a side hustle, right? Because when we've all learned from this pandemic that has hit, and some people have hit very hard, some people medium, some people not as hard, right? But having something on the side, whether it's a creative outlet that you can monetize or some type of pivoting and understanding that you need to be secure should anything come around like this pandemic. And, had the pandemic hit without, a record label, it hit, and now we have a record label. So it kind of made me really zoom out, right, and take a look and see what can I do to, boost the booking agency and also get this amazing talent that I have involved and, work them in so that they also have a side hustle, right? So it's not just about me. It's about everybody, and also being a part of the team, seeing those end goals and making them come to life.
Yes, that's perfect. It's all about adapting. And if we've learned anything this past year, it's certainly that. So it's great to see how well you've done that. And Friday's the big day. Let's Hear It For The Boy is officially released. What can you say about this single? I've heard it. I heard the little special listen. It's so fun.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. You spend all this time, tremendous amount of effort, right? Your blood, your sweat, your tears to make the record. And then there's a whole nother process that comes after making the record.
Right.
And you know, where the purpose of the song came into is my music taste, which I touched base on earlier. I love taking risks. Yes. Excuse me. I am a risk taker when it comes to playing live. I stick to my format when I'm DJing is almost as if like, when I read the crowd, right, I say to myself, okay, I'm going to take a risk here and see what happens. I'm going to see if they like a cheesy 80s song, right?
Sure.
And if they do, I'm going to follow it up here, and then I'm going to use maybe a Prince record that will like transition me from the 80s into the 90s, and then hang a bunch of 90s records out there, right? And then maybe a 90s record goes a little bit with a current Timberlake record, because why wouldn't it, you know? So I'm an open format guy when it comes to my mindset. So my musical taste of the producing is, I love Denise Williams' song, Let's Hear It For The Boy, right? From the movie Footloose, right? You know, everyone that's out there who cannot say that when you turn on Footloose, you can't just watch it, right? Exactly. Who doesn't want to express their anger through dance in a warehouse like Kevin Bacon, right?
Exactly, 100%.
And, you know, but because of the old records that I love, I also love today's, you know, music. And I'm a big fan of the scene. So that vision for Let's Hear It For The Boy developed into an energetic dance cover. Obviously, it was a #1 Billboard hit from 1984. And then I infused it with a 2021 sound. I focused on the strong vocals and a catchy beat. And I wanted to really stay true to the original while making it a blend into today's music culture. And I kind of feel that way when I also DJ, because I'm testing the waters in so many different genres without sounding like, you know, a jukebox that's just, you know, skipping all over the place, you know, trying to really melodically put it all together. And then, you know, it's got a very good kick to it. The bass has a funky bass line, and then we put in a feel-good, unique piano riff. And like the chorus is the focal point. So during the chorus, we stuttered it, and I came up with the idea for the stutter in her voice from Power of Love, which was in the movie Back to the Future, where it's dun, dun, and it starts off. So we wanted this kind of one shot that also went with the original for Let's Hear It For The Boy. We chopped and screwed the vocals, added some sound effects, and, you know, covers right now are all the rage.
Yes, for sure. For sure. And that's a sample, like you said, everyone can kind of resonate with. And when I heard it, I felt like I was at a beach party. It was just so fun. And that's exactly where I want to be when I can be again. So that was perfect. And what's extra special and cool is it's coming out on your very own record label, Get Set. What was your mission in starting that? What was the whole goal?
Well, the goal is here. So let's backtrack. Again, bringing the talent over, also really starting it with my own, you know, hopes, my own wants, my own dreams. So, you know, the record label is going to start with Let's Hear It For The Boy, even though I did drop a single last year, but, you know, we're on Let's Hear It For The Boy now.
Yes, on to the next one.
On to the next one. But, you know, my goal is do whatever I can, put it all out there, wear my heart on my sleeve, try to get other people, try to get listeners to understand that, you know, we live in an area where if it's an appropriate song, it can go anywhere, right? So Let's Hear It for the Boy is so appropriate. It could be at a beach party. Right. It could be, you know, outside at your back pool party. It could be, you know, on the radio. It could be anywhere. And my goal was to start with a record that sounds appropriate, is appropriate, and also incorporates my old school love with my new school love, and then move forward into the next couple of records that we've been working on that will develop on that.
Love it. And it's so versatile, the single specifically. I could see myself playing that at weddings this summer.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm excited now, Marshall. Yeah. And as you mentioned, you know, you do all sorts of things. You've kind of seen every side of this business at this point. So when you started your booking company, Set Artist Management, what was kind of in the back of your mind when you were adding DJs to your roster? What were you looking for in people to bring onto your team?
It all starts with personality, right? You know, in this day and age, personality can blend through looks. It can blend through your music, how you play. You could be, you know, the most bland person, but when you show up in the DJ booth, or you're an artist, a guitarist on stage, your whole personality shines. And, you know, it just, you can't take your focus off it. So drive is one. Like you gotta understand, you know, whether you have a brand, how to make sure that you have all the boxes checked, from an EPK to a logo to any assets that you have to ask for, which come on down the line of being an artist, right? You know, everybody needs their kits.
Right.
So it starts with personality, then you check the box, and then, you know, to make sure you have all the assets. And when you get to it, you got to be able to handle the job. Right? Like you got to be able to perform, to go to work. And being in the industry now, whether it's a huge festival and you're playing for 500,000 people, or you're at a nightclub for 5,000 people, or you're playing a, you know, backyard party for 50 people, whatever it is, it's a job, right? And your job at hand is the focus on being prepared, right? You know your audience, you know your crowd, you do your research, you do your homework, right? Because whether you're playing for 50 people or 500,000 people, you still have a job to do.
Right.
And one of the things that I look for in DJs is that they really understand that, because, you know, there is talent out there that will go to work and be like, oh, there's nobody there, I don't care, right? But you never know who's there, right?
You got to keep the same energy.
Got to keep the same energy. You never know who's in your audience. It could be, you know, someone that works for Warner Brothers. It could be someone that works for Netflix, and they happen to be having an event in a couple of months, and they're looking for DJs, right? You don't know who's there.
No.
And, you know, again, it goes back to the single. Appropriate. Got to be appropriate.
That's such solid advice. And I know you're no rookie. You've been DJing for over 20 years at this point. And I was reading through all the little press articles about you. You have so many good stories, turning music down for Scarlett Johansson, playing Spice Girls for Brooklyn Beckham. So I want to know, what is your favorite story experience that you've had as DJing?
Oh, wow. Oh, I wish I prepared for this. There's so many. Well, bringing it back again, we're going to do a little like half a circle back.
Yes.
And bring everything back full circle in the end. I grew up in Boston, but I was born in Augusta, Georgia. Right?
Okay.
So just being, you know, in high school, I went back to visit and I had some friends. So I was back and forth, you know, whatever. But Outkast. Huge Outkast fan. I love André 3000. If you were to ask me who are my top 5 hip hop MCs, lyricists, André 3000 would be number one. Yeah. Number one, hands down. I wouldn't even have to think twice. Big Boy, André 3000. Love them. Yeah. So, you know, from all of their albums that they've dropped, and again, personality, they got personality, right? Yeah. Flair, everything. So all of their albums that they've dropped, I've always loved Outkast. And one day I was DJing at the Whiskey at the W in Times Square in their basement club. And all of a sudden, who walks in? And let me tell you, it was not a busy night. It was like a Wednesday in Times Square. I think I did every Wednesday, and then I did one Saturday a month. And on Wednesday it was hit or miss. Sometimes you get, you know, it was Times Square, and this is, you know, at a time where, you know, in the mid to late 2000s, that you could get a lot of foot traffic in, or you get nobody, right? So Outkast walks in, and I'm like, oh my God. And I had never met them. I've never met them. And I'm like, oh my God. So I decided, you know, I'm going to play as if this place is jam-packed, and I'm going to do my thing. And André 3000 walks up to me, and he says, I love what you're doing. I absolutely love what you're doing. And do you have a card? And I gave him my card, and he's like, we'll be in touch. And I'm like, super cool.
Okay.
Super cool. So what happened was his publicist team reached out to me and said, turns out that he's dropping a new clothing line and he's looking for a DJ. So full circle, I ended up traveling with André 3000 to a bunch of his fashion release parties. He had one at Barney's in New York. He had one at Neiman Marcus in Atlanta, and a few other around the country. And I ended up DJing in stores at his releases that were like red carpet events where, you know, all these different artists came in for support. And, you know, I ended up playing for him. And it was a full circle type of story where you never know who's going to be in the audience.
Exactly.
And always be appropriate.
Oh, that is insane. That's incredible. And like you said, that's the perfect lesson.
Yeah, it was a dream. It was an absolute dream come true.
Oh, do you guys stay in touch?
Honestly, we had stayed in touch for about 2 or 3 years, and it's been a while.
Oh, well, one day.
One day.
Yeah.
One day he'll be like, hey, you're DJ Marshall. And I'll be like, oh, I know who you are.
Yeah, we go way back in here. Don't worry.
Those times.
That is so freaking cool. And last but certainly not least, first of all, you're from Boston. So have you been to Maine yet in your life?
Yes, I have been to Maine. A bunch of my friends have been married in Maine. So we've done a couple of days up there, and I've skied in Maine. Wow. I've never actually vacationed in Maine. But
not yet.
If you go for 2 or 3 days for a wedding and a bachelor party, I mean, it's a short vacation, you know, with your best friends.
Yes, and it's a gorgeous place to get married, so that makes a lot of sense.
I know the name of the town. It's on the water. It's a little town with like a little, you know, strip of bars everybody goes to. I forget the name of it.
Ooh, we got a lot of those.
Obviously, it's like little New England town, just like the Cape. My mom used to live in Chatham.
Oh, cool. What a small world. So here in Maine, our state motto is the way life should be. So I want to know, according to you, what is the way life should be?
Oh, well, first off, the way life should be is to, in my mind, and I don't speak for everybody,
of course,
is to live life 100% no regrets. Because the things that have happened into my life to this point, if you sat down and said, hey, Marsh, if you wanted to go back, what years would you go back to and change things? Right. And I would say, honestly, I wouldn't. I mean, there's times where I would go back and maybe like say something different, but I wouldn't change any of the experiences that molded me. And I live life to the fullest with no regrets, because where I'm at now, almost everything that I've done has led me to this point. And you know, if you have a chance, take it. You know, if you learned anything from COVID, be a little bit of a risk taker. If you're really good at online shopping, maybe you should create a side hustle where you personal shop for people online. Right. Right?
Transform your skills, for sure.
Transform your skills, but no regrets. And, you know, at the end of the day, if you're tired and you go to sleep, you can at least wake up the next day and be like, well, I'm rested. Let's get back at it.
Right. That's great advice. And that's exactly why you took that overseas tour. I'm so glad you did.
It's true.
Wow,
it's very true. And, you know, where I'm at now, I also want to say that it's not just me. There's a lot of people that are involved with the record label, with the record, actually, I want to give a big shout out to the Get Set and the Let's Hear It for the Boy crew. You know, the rock star women that have been behind the scenes. Jamie Sloan, the publicist, she's done an amazing job. Shout out to her. Yeah. Melanie Lane, Get Set overseas. She's been helping with the label and the radio. She's a jack of all trades. Layla El Ghazi, our social media coordinators. And, you know, the list goes on. Symphonic distribution team. Also, shout out to my wife and my daughter, who just turned 2, for being so supportive.
Oh, happy birthday to her. That's awesome. That's great that you have a close-knit, supportive family, and that obviously shows in what's happening in your life, Marshall. That's awesome.
Yeah, one day maybe I'll be main stage and my daughter will be with me. Who knows?
Yes, main stage in Maine with your daughter.
Main stage.
I like that. That's amazing. Thank you again so much for talking with me today, Marshall. Friday, I cannot wait for it for multiple reasons, including your single. So we'll be looking out for that. Yeah, Let's Hear It for the Boy, out streaming on all platforms on Friday. Hell yeah, we're ready for it. It's the spring song we needed to, you know, put that pep back in our step. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And thank you so much for everything today and all of your support. I really enjoyed being here. Yeah, I enjoyed it too, Marshall. Thank you so much. Until we meet again. Take care.